Have you guys seen these videos? These videos keep popping up, and I didn't know if I was going to talk about it because I saw one video and I'm like, okay, one video doesn't necessarily mean anything. Then I saw 2 videos, then I saw 3 videos. And the videos that I'm going to show you today are not all the videos. These are just the videos that I gathered to show you that this phenomenon is not only happening, but I'm finding more instances of it as it goes on. Now, this is not the first time we have gotten reports of, I don't want to use the word cavalry. I'm going to use the word logistics horsepower. That we have seen logistics horsepower being used. I've seen mules being used to carry supplies before those positions would get hit by a drone or otherwise. But those were in very far separated, isolated incidents. They did not seem to be characterized by entire units or divisions being taken over by a cavalry corps that uses an actual cavalry, or the mass transport of troops using literal horsepower. But now, while we still have yet to find any army with their with their battalion logo changing, they're starting to put horses on it. We haven't seen anything like that yet, a full governmental rebrand. We are seeing more of these videos. Now, what these videos seem to have in common is Russians going across a field, trying to get from point A to point B in largely disputed areas. So these are areas near the front itself, trying to get to position. This doesn't necessarily mean that they are transporting only
Burns
to
is an immoral,
go take an enemy position.
corrupt,
that this is
man.
a literal cavalry charge into an enemy trench. But it does mean that they are using it near the front. So I don't want anybody to get
Burns
under the
is
assumption
an immoral, morally corrupt,
bankrupt man. Thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. T-Rex, thank you for the primer. And Son of a Cod, thank you for the primer. Appreciate it. Advocates Diablo.
Burns is an immoral, morally corrupt,
I don't know if I'm allowed
to
accept a tier 3 sub of anything from somebody with the name Diablo in it in this time of the year. Pretty sure that's a form of sacrilege. A form of religious abuse, but I will take the money. I will take the money, and I will feel zero shame. But okay, back to the horses. It seems
Don't push the horses. Don't push the horses.
Obviously, the Ukrainians have been having an interesting time with the edits, but this is in combat zones. These are not far away from the front, like 20 kilometers, 30 kilometers away from the front line, just providing logistical support. That is not happening here, because I remember before, when I was looking at the mules, even in the instances when they were close to the front line, the argument largely was that this is only being used in a logistical capacity. But now it seems to, while they are also transporting what looks like food and fuel and other things, it does seem to be used for troop transport from people from one position to another, near the line of contact. So while the reports have been on the idea that these are cavalry assaults have returned. Most of the videos that we have seen have been Russian soldiers trying to get from point A to point B faster than they would have on foot. And I think that's the entire philosophy around videos like this, where you would see a video like this and you would say, like, is this an actual cavalry assault? Is this somebody trying to take an enemy position? And it's not that necessarily that the Russians are even trying to charge into the enemy trench with the cavalry. It seems to be almost like a dismountable tool, the same way somebody would jump off of a motorcycle after getting to a position. It's not that this guy's going to take out a saber and this now 1880 and he's going to start, swinging at the Ukrainians. They seem to just be using them the same way you would a motorcycle or same way you would an ATV, purely as a transport vehicle. I don't really see it being used as an assault vehicle outside of the fact that these are horses close enough to the enemy that they could presumably have attempted. So this seems to be mostly like infantry transport and dismount, because they've made the determination that it would be faster than on foot. Here's the problem, right? It is true that if you can get a horse to work with you, it will be faster than on foot. Here's the problem though. A horse is not a car. A horse is not a tank. It's not as simple as you press a button and it has to do what you want it to do. A horse could not understand you. A horse could be trained poorly. A horse can be trained well, but you don't know how to operate a horse, or you don't know how to make this specific horse behave. You know, it's a living, breathing thing, meaning it can buck you off, it can disobey you, it can go in a way that it totally you do not want to go. And essentially, to use it as anything more than just trying to get from point A to point B would take immense skill, which would take an actual cavalry corps. That means taking the Russians, taking the horses, and training them together so that this horse knows that it has to stay by you, that it has to protect you, it has to be with you. And they're not doing that in the Russian army. That's not what necessitated. What necessitated this wasn't like Putin late at night while scrolling the Reddit history forums, which is what I assume he does when he's not, warring everything. Just from the way he talks. Maybe he saw a thread and he was like, oh, you know what? We need to bring back the glory of the cavalry. Somebody said this is like World War I. Well, I remember they had cavalry in World War I. So I'm gonna add cavalry. This is not what happened. They don't have enough ATVs, they don't have enough motorcycles, they don't have enough armored vehicles, and so they are trying to take anything that is faster than feet to move Russian infantry forward, because Russian infantry and the overabundance of Russian infantry relative to Ukrainian infantry, that is the only thing that has moved the front line forward for the Russian army. And so they're just trying to find whatever they can, since they have a shortage of armor and they don't want to end this war with no armor reserves whatsoever in case there's another security crisis that they have to deal with, whether it be off in Africa or in Russia's further proximity or in its immediate backyard, as the Russians would try to describe it and speak of it. That's what I see this as. I see this as a move of desperation. And since it's a move of desperation and there's no Russian cavalry corps, there's not going to be Russian cavalry assaults with saber and coordinated charge. That's not going to happen. For them to do that or to attempt that would be a pathetic display. It would be sad to watch because you would see a bunch of soldiers who aren't trained on cavalry try to assault on cavalry with a bunch of horses that are probably not even also going to be trained on cavalry. So I would not be surprised if this is as far as it goes. I don't think there's going to be any larger cavalry assaults. It's going to be a purely logistical role, and if it can even achieve that, that's probably more than should have been asked of these horses. Oh, also, I do want to say I saw like a few people, like responding to this, and I know it's sad, right? Like these poor horses getting hurt, but I saw one person, and I have to claim him because it's actually a New Vegas fan too. I noticed, who was saying like, "My God, why would the Ukrainians blow up these horses?" Could you have imagined that? Could you imagine it's like 1777? Like I can't believe we actually rebelled against the British. Oh, General Washington, they're coming over that hill. Us here in the old lines state here in Maryland, we're ready to hold the line, sir. We're ready to do what we need to save this great experiment. But sir, they have horses. That's not chill, man. We can't shoot the horses. Okay. Oh no, not the horse. Oh, we can't do that. Okay, okay. I guess we're British now. Absolutely ridiculous. Again, I have to keep repeating. The most common trend I see on Twitter right now for engaging with the war is people finding out that war is bad for the first time because they haven't had to see such unfiltered violence before. And so instead of like using that to rationally conclude you probably don't want to go to war, they just like blame the sides that it has been inflicted on, the wars that have been forced upon it. It's like getting angry at the Polish for shooting back. Not because the Poles started the war, but because you're horrified by the Stuka. It's a crazy logic, but what people are thinking. I see it online, sadly. I have to. I don't switch from my For You page like ever. I'm always on For You. I never switch to just following. It's abuse of myself, I guess. But you know, I know that the wider public is using For You, and so if I jump off of that, I'm not gonna be able to put my ear to the railroad track and be able to see the same horribly inflammatory, bigoted nonsense that everybody else is, and that's getting them all riled up. So for my country, I must read racist posts on the internet. That's the logic I have cornered myself into. Russians are using horses because they are so far more delicious than BNB wants. Thank you, Cryptic Command. I appreciate that. Thank you. I blame Uma Musume. I don't know what that means.